Hey guys, Carl Cooper here with On the Black, and I am joined by my old friend Dave Doyle of Mets Report for a Sunday chat. Dave, how you doing? How you been?
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me back again. I appreciate it.
No problem. And it's been a while since we talked. I think maybe since the end of last year. We may have had a couple of chats in October, but I don't think we've spoken since then. And here we are, spring training. The Mets lost Reyes. They've cut payroll by 40 or 50 million dollars. They did shore up the bullpen a little bit. I'm not happy that they didn't address starting pitching. My thoughts, but wanted to get your thoughts on how you think the Mets off season went.
Well, I think that's a pretty, accurate summary. And, losing Reyes is just a killer. And, especially, and I know he signed a big overall contract, but especially the fact that he's actually making less money this year with the Marlins than he did last year with the Mets is incredibly disappointing. And, this whole back and forth about whether the Mets made him an offer or not it's just incredibly disappointing. Yeah, they shored up the bullpen a little bit. You can't save games if you're not winning, though,
Sure.
and that's my big concern. So I don't have high expectations.
Yeah, same here. I definitely don't have high expectations. Actually, my expectations this year are as low as they've been since pre 2006. So they are definitely very low expectations this year. I've had a few people ask me if the extra wild card will help. The answer to that is no, in my opinion. And we'll see. Anything can happen over 162, but my expectations very low this year. Very, very, very low.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're in the early stages here of spring training. I think the Mets' first game is tomorrow. There are some new faces in camp this year. There are some old faces, some guys coming back from injuries. Some guys, hopefully, example Murphy, going to learn a new position and be there all year. Anyone in particular you're keeping an eye on this spring to see how they do?
I really would like to see if there turns out to be some real competition at these positions. There's not a lot of competition, maybe a spot or two in the bullpen, but I mean, when you have a team that people are predicting 90 or 100 losses for, you'd think there'd be a little bit more competition going on. So maybe something I'd like to see is maybe like a Kirk Neuenhuis come and beat out Andres Torres for center field. Or maybe like a Matt Harvey in a shock to beat out like Dylan G or somebody for a spot in the rotation. I'd like to see somebody come out of nowhere and do something, maybe spark this team a little bit.
That is an interesting point. I haven't thought about it that way, but you're right. I mean, compared to the last few years, there really is no kind of open competition anywhere, really, except for the bullpen, like you said there, and that's really one or two spots.
Yeah, and right in the middle of the bullpen, too.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe the optimistic Mets fan in me is thinking, okay, things are settled, guys can focus in, and maybe that's best, too. I don't know, but that is interesting that there really is no competition this year.
It is. It's quite a surprise for a team with such low expectations.
Right. Speaking of expectations, I know that everyone is hoping Wright has a better year this year, especially if he's healthy. We'll see. He's already got some problems with some stiffness in his back. And I would assume that people are praying that Jason Bay bounces back somewhat. Do you think the moving in the fences at Citi Field is going to help either one of those guys?
I do think it's going to help a little bit. And, it's something that the Tigers did when they first opened Comerica Park. They had that huge field and then moved the fences in a bit and to make it play a little more evenly. Petco still plays huge in San Diego, but they're dealing with that. But I do think it's going to help the hitters a little bit. It's just to have it come in a little bit because it was too big. That left field, that huge was a 16-foot wall out there,
right.
And that deep right field, that Mo zone area, it was too big. So I think to move it in should play a little bit more evenly, and I think it will help the hitters a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I mean, it probably will help. At the same time, someone like David Wright, he's got to get back to his old self of like 2006 and before then, where he focuses on taking the ball the other way. Because if he gets back to doing that, then I think that naturally it will help him. I also think that it's probably, even though when these guys hit the ball goes anyway, but guys like Ike Davis and Lucas Duda, I mean, I expect both of them to be in the mid-20s this year with home runs. I mean, we'll see. I know that might be too much expectations from Duda considering he's still a young guy, but he's got a lot of power.
He does. He's a big dude, and I would say that's fair to expect that mid-20s from those guys. I would agree with that too.
Yep. Now, we opened about talking about Reyes and the Mets losing him. I'm concerned that we're going to go through the same thing this year with David Wright, where all the talk all summer long is going to be his contract. Are the Mets going to trade him? Are they going to sign him to an extension? Are they going to exercise the option for 2013, which I think is like a $16 or $17 million option that they have on him? So technically speaking, it's not his last year, but I think the Mets probably want to try to get something done one way or the other. I mean, what are your thoughts on Wright and his future with the team, I guess?
I think he's going to be with the Mets all for 2012. I don't think he's going anywhere this season. And I think there's a few reasons. That option year that Wright can void if he gets traded could be a little tricky to try to figure out exactly how much value he has on the trade market because of that. And frankly, I mean, the Mets got to put some people in the seats here. And if David Wright is gone, I mean, after Reyes leaves, it's going to be difficult for them to do that. They need to put somebody out there that's gonna make people want to buy tickets. So I think he's going to be with the Mets for this whole season, and after that, I think it gets really questionable.
Yeah, I can't see this team without Wright over the next few years, but at the same time, I think I said the same thing about Reyes, and he's gone. So, a lot of the talk last year was, okay, who should the Mets keep, Wright or Reyes? And my thoughts on that is, well, they're a big market team, they should have kept both. But it looks like, you're right. I don't think they can lose both, and they're going to have to pony up some money for Wright. I guess it's just a matter of how much and how many years. I hope they do keep him.
Oh, I do too. I mean, there's no doubt, especially when you see a guy like Ryan Zimmerman get that long extension recently, and they're both from the same area. And so Ryan Zimmerman basically with this extension now is like 9 years, $150 million coming to him.
Yeah.
And Wright can't get that. I mean, it's tough to watch.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And to the critics out there, I get this question. A lot of people will criticize David Wright and stuff like that. And yes, he's had a few disappointing years here recently. But I still ask the same question. Give me 5 third basemen in Major League Baseball that are better than David Wright. I mean, it's when you think about it, there are not that many top-notch third basemen out there, and so you gotta take that into consideration too.
Yeah, you definitely do, and it's always a changing landscape too. If A-Rod comes back and plays healthy, or if Miguel Cabrera can actually lose enough weight to play at third base this year, but the way he hits, he's a huge hitter. So it's always a changing landscape. But it's difficult for me to imagine this team without David Wright. But it was also I felt the same way about Jose Reyes too, and here we are.
Yep.